Hi, I'm Esther Ginestet. I am a researcher, a teacher, and a PhD candidate in history at Sciences Po University in Paris and Northeastern University in Chicago. I was born in France 30 years ago and have spent a third of my life living, studying, and conducting research in East Africa and in the United States. Through these experiences, I have become interested in how the stories we tell about the past of the nations and the groups to which we belong shape our understanding of collective identity. Our ideas about the past, I believe, inform the ways in which we envision collective identity. It informs the way we debate and interpret our problems, and it shapes how we react to our circumstances. In my research, I study how women and men who spoke the Luo language and lived along the northeastern shores of Lake Victoria in Kenya held public discussions about the ancient past. Specifically, I investigate how Luo intellectuals have spoken and written about the ancient pre-colonial past to open up public debates about collective belonging. My study begins in the mid-19th century, at a time when knowledge about the past was passed on through oral traditions rather than reading and writing. And it ends in the mid-1980s, when the HIV/AIDS crisis triggered a moral problem that invited many to turn to history to understand what had gone wrong. At the core of my research is the question of how European colonialism transformed traditional African ways of knowing and ideas about ethnicity, about history, and about intellectual authority. To answer this question, I have spent 18 months in 2022-2023 in Western Kenya. During that time, I spoke to people, I collected documents produced by erudite grandmothers, African school teachers and priests, judges, migrant associations, academics, novelists, public intellectuals, and moral entrepreneurs of all kinds. As it turned out, the story that my research uncovered was not merely a history of how colonialism shattered East African oral traditions and pre-colonial ways of knowing. Rather, it was a story about agency centered on the actions of East African intellectuals themselves. It is a story that shows women and men digging into the ancient past to make contemporary arguments about morals, politics, and society. It is a story that shows people laboring to express themselves within constrained political environments, including colonialism, and more or less free or authoritarian post-colonial regimes. In calling upon the past, intellectuals laid collective claims to human dignity. They laid individual claims to public authority, and they attempted to envision political futures in the face of adversity, be it political, material, or social. More broadly, my research sheds light on the relationship between history writing and the development of ethnicity, acknowledging that ethnicity weighs heavily on Kenyan politics and society today. My research also demonstrates how technological changes, like the introduction of colonial print culture, marginalized women intellectuals from the public sphere. While anchored in East Africa, my work therefore speaks to anyone interested in ethno-nationalism, gender, and the role of historical memory in society. Now, as someone who has often lived as a stranger in host societies, and as a history teacher, and especially as a former teacher to high schoolers, I have long been concerned about how the stories we tell to our children about the past influence their ideas about community, about belonging, and about the lack thereof, about disenfranchisement and exclusion. I have also been concerned about what counts as history, and about who is able to successfully lay claims to public intellectual authority and to rights to tell narratives that matter. My work is an attempt to grapple with these questions.